all it took was taking a quick break from severe weather coverage for this storm to intensify here, and that's usually the way it works, right? As soon as I jump down and take a breather, hey, we get things rolling. So we do have a severe thunderstorm warning now. That warning goes until 5:30, so for about another half hour here, another 25 minutes, and that goes across parts of southern Ellis and now northern, really into almost central, really the northern half of Navarro County. So this particular storm, you can see the black there. With this storm, the main issue is going to be hail. So 1 inch hail is estimated there. And then as we kind of look south of there, we do have more storms that could be intensifying, but those are outside of our area. So those have moved out of Hill County. So those will be moving into parts of Limestone, Freestone County there as well. And then as we look to the storm in our particular area, this is the one that of course has that severe thunderstorm warning going. This doesn't look terribly intense at this time. What I will tell you is that we have a decent amount of hail in this storm. You can see the black little hail core there. And I will tell you that we are looking at, let me just move this chair a little bit so that it's easier for me to see the other screen here. But what we have is a storm where hail is going to be the main issue, the main concern. Now, I will tell you that it's kind of taking a little bit of a bow shape here, so we are probably looking at gusty winds at this point. This storm has already moved out of the Milford-Italy area. I'm hearing there's some pea-sized hail south of Italy there. So this has just moved south of 34, so it's moving into parts of Navarro County now. And if you're behind that storm, you're done for the day. This is going to be really it as far as what we're expecting today. And you can see some other convection trying there in eastern Ellis County, not really seeing much. But this is what we're seeing as far as the severe storms. This is really the only severe storm that we have right now, certainly the only warning, but you can see that it's kind of taking that right turn. Sometimes we see that with these stronger storms, and we will have to continue to monitor this one as it continues to intensify. Do the hail sizes get larger? Do the winds increase? That kind of thing. We, of course, remember early Saturday morning, you can ask folks in Waxahachie over in Ennis as well about the storms that they experienced. And this storm moving right towards Blooming Grove. And again, kind of that bow shape here. So don't be surprised to have some strong winds in this storm. Could be more intense winds here. So let me see here. Looks like they're calling for, at least in the warning as it's initially issued, 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-size hail. So that's about baseline for what to expect. But what I will tell you is that we have this bow shape going on. So when you have that kind of happening, that is where winds need to become a concern. So just be on the lookout here for those stronger winds, but you want to be, when I say that, I don't mean go outside and look. I mean stay indoors. You want to be indoors during these storms, but make sure that you're indoors, but that you consider that as a possibility. If you're in an RV or something of that sort, unfortunately that's not a great place to be. Try to find a more secure structure to be inside of as this storm approaches. And Caitlin K, you're saying you have baseball practice at 6. Are we good to go ahead and go? Well, Caitlin, I don't know where you are, so your location's going to make it a lot easier to answer that question. So yes, so where we see this storm, we do have kind of this bow shape. So I am concerned about winds at this point. Looks like that hail core may be kind of subsiding just a little bit, but I will be paying attention closely. So Caitlin K, so you have practice at 6. I can't really answer that question. It looks like this will be out of there by 6, but just kind of don't give yourself a deadline right now, a timeline. Let this storm clear out before you do anything outside. So you want to make sure that you are staying safe with this storm in that area. Very strong storm. It has prompted that severe thunderstorm warning. And really, as I mentioned, it's moving kind of more southeasterly here and does have kind of that bow shape to it. So winds are apparently increasing in this storm. We'll take a look at the velocity view here. Yeah, so here near Frost, you can see those stronger winds starting to pick up. So Deborah asking, you're headed from Mansfield from Ferris, and there's nothing going on up in that area. So the only storms are this storm and farther south. If I can get back to that reflectivity here, this is our area. So really nothing happening north of that storm. So you're in southern Ellis County, northern Navarro County, then you know, you're done. If you're behind these storms, you're done for the night. Okay, so that's kind of where things stand. But this storm continuing to move towards Blooming Grove continues to have kind of this bow shape to it. So stronger winds are going to be expected with this storm. And again, I want to go back to the velocity because I want to watch this update. And yeah, so more gusty winds with this storm. I'm not seeing anything particularly worrisome here with this, but I do think that it is certainly worth keeping an eye on as we go through the next several minutes, kind of the lifeline, kind of the life cycle of this storm here. So if we put this into motion, you can see those stronger winds moving towards the Frost and Blooming Grove area. So just to keep in mind that the way that storm is moving, let's definitely consider that stronger winds are a possibility with that storm. So here's the severe storm we've been paying attention to, moving right into the Blooming Grove area. Eventually could be impacting Emma House. Moving towards, looks like mostly just going to clip Frost there, but from Blooming Grove on to Barry, I would say that is where you need to be watching this particular storm. And people asking about Ennis and Waxahachie. The thing is, there's no storms headed for Ennis or Waxahachie right now. So looks like you're done for the night. All of this has moved past you. So nothing to be expected in those parts of Ellis County. This is the only storm we have right now that is that far north. Everything else is south of this particular storm. So I want to zoom out just a little bit here. And again, this is our area, so you can see that there's this one storm that is intensifying here, moving right towards the Blooming Grove area, towards Barry, eventually possibly towards Corsicana. And then south of that, none of this is severe at this time, but it is fairly strong, lots of heavy rain, lightning, and thunder. But this is the only severe storm we have at this moment. So here's the storm we are watching. Like I said, looks like it's just going to graze Frost a little bit. And then continue on to the southeast, moving towards, really into the Blooming Grove area now, moving towards Barry, and some of that moving towards M House. The way this is moving, this could move towards the Corsicana area. If you're in Corsicana right now, you need to be watching this storm very closely. This one warned for quarter-sized hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds. I would venture to say 60 to 70-mile-per-hour winds possible. And we'll continue to watch this thing as it shows that it could, at least, get that bow shape. Taylor Adelot, you're asking, do you think it will make to Currens? We'll have to watch and see. We need to wait and see what this does, because if it continues this southeasterly motion, looks like it could stay west of there. But we will continue to monitor it just in case. And asking about Eureka, very well could. So I know the Eureka is farther downstream here, so we will continue to monitor the storm as it makes its way through Navarro County. This one, as far as the movement here, yeah, moving east, well, it says it's moving east at 35 miles per hour, but it's actually going to be more southeast at this point. So it's moving 35 miles per hour, not quite moving as fast as the storm was before it. So this one going to continue on. Amy Ballard, no tornadoes are reported. No tornadoes going on right now, just a severe thunderstorm warning. And somebody asking about Gun Barrel City. Looks like Gun Barrel City, I mean, you don't really have anything headed your way right now. So not really anything there. I mean, it's not past you yet necessarily, but nothing quite developing in that area. So let me just, we've got a lot of folks asking about their town, a lot of repetition too. So I just want to put this into motion. Find yourself on the map and you can see kind of where things lie here. Just do a broad area update. If you are behind this line, you are done for the night. There is really nothing headed your way. if you are ahead of one of these storms, obviously you've got some strong storms headed your direction. This is a severe thunderstorm warning that goes until 5:30. So that will continue on, but behind all of this, you are done for the night, nothing headed your way. So that is the good news there. So expect this activity in the Corsicana area in the next several minutes here. I would say in the next 15 minutes or so, you can expect at least the leading edge of this in the Corsicana area. That will continue on. Could impact parts of Kearns, could move towards Eureka. We just kind of need to wait and see if this continues to have that southeasterly trend or if this moves due east. At this point, looks like it may be moving more of an easterly track here. Looks like it's kind of lost some of that bow echo. So maybe that means that, you know, and somebody else asking about, we'll get to Ennis in just a moment, but the storm's moving towards the Corsicana area right now. Does look like it's kind of returned to that easterly track here. Maybe it's lost some of those winds. Not necessarily a bad thing, but we will take a look again at velocity, see what that looks like. We're still getting some gusty winds near Blooming Grove, but I'm not seeing the kind of bow echo shape that we saw early Saturday morning when those very destructive winds came through. So we will take that progress there. And this storm, again, the only severe storm we have right now. Severe thunderstorm warning was issued. I don't know if anybody in the Navarro County area got your weather call here, but you can sign up for weather call when a severe thunderstorm warning like this is issued, or God forbid a tornado warning if that's issued. None right now, but if they are issued, you will get a phone call from me. It will be my voice letting you know that there is a tornado warning in your particular area. We, of course, have the severe thunderstorm watch until 11 o'clock. The good news is that the threat for severe weather won't go that late, but we do have that watch in place. When you get a watch like that, when it's not quite as urgent, you get a text message, you get an email. Basically, we're going to let you know that way, because most people this day and age, they only want to be called if it's absolutely necessary, right? So, you know, if it's a warning or something like that, you're going to get that phone call. Otherwise, you will get a phone call from me. So hearing that there's a report of hail in the Blooming Grove area, so this storm moving towards M House now. Looked like M House, the core is now headed your way. So it was moving more southeasterly. Now it's kind of adopted that easterly track again, and will continue to move towards the Corsicana area here. Looks like most of that probably stays north of Oak Valley. Looks like if it continues this track, it could stay north of Eureka, but would be headed towards the Kearns area. So just kind of keeping you up to date on where this thing is tracking. So just a kind of a broader view here. And Timothy, there's not any severe weather headed towards Palmer at this moment. And hearing marble size here in hail in Blooming Grove, praying the severe part stays out of Rice. So most of this storm is going to pass south of Rice. You may get some heavy rain, lightning and thunder in Rice, but it looks like the heaviest part of that storm is headed south of Rice there. We'll put this back into motion so you can kind of have that perspective. But it did kind of, the core of that storm was moving a little more southeasterly. Looks like that's moving more east now. And they have cut back the Ellis County portion of this and moving towards the Corsicana area now. So if you're behind this storm, if you're not in the path of this storm in our area, the rest of our area is not seeing any kind of storms at this point. And you're basically, if you're behind that storm, you're done for the night. This is the only one we have right now in our particular area. There is some heavy activity south of Corsicana here. This is not severe at this time, but we do have that one severe storm that is headed right for the Corsicana area. So bear in mind that it is moving towards Corsicana, could intensify as it gets closer there. The farther east we go, the more unstable the air. So essentially, as this continues to progress, we have a better and better and better chance of seeing this storm become severe. And of course, that's where you're getting deeper into that slight risk, that kind of thing. And so it is now, we're getting right to about 5:20 here. And just about 10 more minutes on this warning. I imagine we will probably see a new warning issued downstream from this one, but it's moving about 35 miles per hour. So it's moving a little slower. And still some folks asking about Ennis. Here's the thing. I know you can see it from Ennis. You can see it in the sky, but it is moving well south of Ennis right now, so not in the Ennis area. So the storm is moving south of Ennis, it's going to stay there. I know you're getting some of the periphery from that, but Ennis will not be impacted any more than what the little bit that you're seeing from this particular storm. So this is our severe storm, just for folks that may just be joining here. We have one severe storm in our area, really one storm in our area overall. There is some of this heavy rain south of Corsicana here in southern Navarro County. That is not severe at this point. I can't rule out some smaller hail. If we zoom this out a little bit, that's getting a little bit heavy there. So we might see some small hail in that storm. But the severe storm and really the bulk of the activity is right here in northern Navarro County. The rest of our area, Ellis, Johnson, Hill counties, you're done for the night. Everything has moved away from you. The dry line has moved through, and so really we're not expecting anything else for those areas, just Navarro County at this point. And at that, this will be moving out by, I would say, 7 o'clock tonight. So once that's out of here, we're done for the night. That severe thunderstorm watch continues until 11 o'clock. Once that is over, really once this moves out, we're done with that. So I would say we're to the point now where, I mean, our severe risk will be done by about 7 o'clock. So don't let the 11 o'clock kind of throw you off here. We're done by about 11. All right, so somebody asking from Gun Barrel City, looks like the storm's going to probably move south of the Gun Barrel City area. So it's continuing to the east, so due east. Looks like that's headed more towards Kearns, Malakoff, maybe Athens there. Looks like our hail core may be picking up strength again. Sometimes we see these storms where they increase in intensity and then they decrease, and then they kind of cycle up and down, right? Looks like we could be looking at this hail core that continues to kind of cycle up and down as it's now moving into parts of Corsicana. Looks like the heaviest part of this storm will probably hit northern portions of Corsicana here. And just getting a very close look at it here, of course, is Corsicana, M House, Crier Creek, and Barry. So there's the heaviest part of this storm. That's your hail core just south of M House there. And so that looks like most of this probably moves just north of, really on the north side of Corsicana there. South of there, you do have some heavy rain there from Richland on down towards Wortham, but that is not severe at this point. I want to take a look at the velocity here. We do see increasing wind speeds here. So right around Barry, so there are some gusty winds picking up in that area. I would say probably around 50, 60 miles per hour, possibly 60 plus at this point. Not anything too terribly concerning at this moment, not anything like what we saw as we went back to Saturday morning. So I'm not seeing anything like that at this point. Taylor Adelot, you're asking, I think the hail core will weaken before currents. I have no idea. I have no idea if it's gonna weaken or intensify. Odds are it intensifies, but this storm has kind of been cycling, so we just kind of have to wait and see what it will actually do before then. It's hard to say either way what that will do. So it's still got a lot of real estate to cover before it gets to the Kearns area. So I know this is everybody's least favorite thing, but we're kind of in a wait and see period with this storm. It's hard to say exactly what we're going to see. So just south of M House, that's where we have our hail core. Some stronger winds down near Barry right now. So there are strong winds. There's some hail in this storm. This does not look particularly destructive at this point. Does not look like the storm we had back in Ellis County over the weekend. But we will have to pay attention very closely here. Here's the winds, and if we wait for, let's see, we should get an update here just in a few minutes, but as we watch, again, could be, and this is a fairly localized area, so we could be seeing a little bit of a microburst, maybe a downburst there in Barry. The good news is it's not looking as intense as what we were looking at in Ellis County Saturday morning. I know that there's a lot of people that are kind of gun shy over that. You saw the pictures on the news. It doesn't look like that's what we're dealing with here. So I think we're in good shape as far as that is concerned. And if we take a look at our hail core here in more detail, that is definitely, this is an old image, but again, that hail core right there between M House and Berry at this time, moving eastward. So it looks like it's probably going to be just on the north side of the Corsicana area. So if I can get this to cooperate with me here. Okay. Yeah, so just on the south side of M House, that's where that hail core is focused right now, with the stronger winds just to the south of that core. It's not really at this point looking like anything particularly, like I said, nothing particularly too destructive at this point. I'm not seeing the velocity returning, a lot of particularly damaging winds, not particularly large hail at this point, but we will have to continue to watch it. We do have a severe thunderstorm watch that is in place, and so this storm can continue to intensify as it moves through that area. And so it's headed towards the Corsicana area now, and as it gets towards Powell, towards Kearns, towards Trinidad, and then eventually on into Henderson County, then we could see that storm continue to intensify. We could see it stay static. It's hard to say. It's hard to say what any one of these places is going to experience with this storm. And a report of just west of Berry, getting a report of pea-sized hail, and not a whole lot of wind for some of those folks, fortunately. It looks like this particular storm might be weakening a little bit here. So just outside of M House, looks like that one is running out of steam a little bit. And we've seen this storm increase in intensity, and then decrease, and then increase, and then decrease, and then kind of back and forth. So the fact that it looks like it's weakening right now doesn't really mean much. We could still see that intensify as we go forward. And Bo Collins, you're asking, are these storms expected to pop off? I've noticed a few fairly big storm chasers in the area, Reed and Croft. So I guess we have storm chasers in part of our area right now. They're ready for any possible anything at this point. They're probably thinking that North Texas is just the place to camp out the way that our storm season has started. Yeah, this will be the only storms we see tonight. To answer another question, somebody asking about Alma, you're north of this storm. As you can see, Alma right up here on the map, so you're north of this storm. And then that continues to move on to the east. It's weakening at this point, but I can't guarantee it's going to stay there. This storm has kind of increased and decreased in intensity. And somebody asking if I'll cover this storm once it's in Henderson County. So we do not cover Henderson County. I have to be able to cut off the line somewhere, because if I didn't, I'd be doing this all day and night. But we do not cover Henderson County there. So once this moves east out of Corsicana, out of Navarro County, that will be when we wrap up our coverage here. But I believe there are other sources in East Texas that can take it from there. So this particular storm does have the severe thunderstorm warning that goes for a few more minutes here, really another couple of minutes. And we will see if this activity motivates a new storm, a new severe thunderstorm warning east of it. If it continues to weaken at this point, it may well not be at this point. And getting a lot of, let's go back to this this overview here, because I know there's now a lot of people asking about all different places on the map. So the folks asking about Waxahachie, there's nothing near Waxahachie at this point. It's well south of there, nothing headed that way. And if you're behind this dry line here, then you're done for the night. So anywhere west of this, and you're done for the night here. There are only 2 severe thunderstorm warnings, one in Navarro County, one farther south near Groesbeck. So really, again, if you're west of this, you're done for the night. There's nothing really to pay attention to at this point. And then asking about Powell, looks like Powell will be getting part of this storm. This one is, at this point, weakening right now, but doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. So it's moving into the Corsicana area now, towards Powell, towards Kearns. And I need to see... All right, so yeah, it looks like my... need to get an update on the dog that got out of the backyard. I've been doing that a lot lately. So what I want to pay attention to here is, let's go take a look at the winds, see if those are weakening as well. This does not want to cooperate with me. So we're still looking at some gusty winds. Just north of Corsicana there, you can see some pockets of gustier winds. The good news is this is not an organized gust front. I'm not really seeing signs of anything too intense at this point. It does look like just a couple of areas, maybe small areas of gustier winds, but not anything too particularly destructive. There goes that severe thunderstorm warning that was allowed to expire. And if this storm intensifies again, which is very possible, it could very well pick up in intensity once again here. So if it does that, there will of course be a new warning issue. But as it's moving into Corsicana right now, this storm is on the weakening trend. So we've seen that with a few of these where they really intensify and blow up, and then they just kind of can't maintain their intensity, and then back and forth on from there. So we may very well be able to kind of avoid, well, here's the new warning. So I guess the National Weather Service is expecting this to, I guess, intensify again. So here's a new severe thunderstorm warning for central and eastern Navarro County at this point. So that runs until 6 o'clock. So about another half hour here, moving east at 45 miles per hour. So this one's picking up speed, and that is for 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-inch hail. So pretty standard severe thunderstorm warning at this point. So here's, yes, that as in the comments, yes, that includes Corsicana, Powell, Kearns, Mildred, and Eureka as well. So yes, we are seeing now this starting to pick up pace again. So we've seen this already today, where these storms, they weaken, then they pick up intensity, then they weaken, then they pick up intensity again. So this storm moving eastward through the Corsicana area right now. I haven't seen particularly destructive winds with this one, but we have seen the hail sizes, the reports of at least at this point, most likely at this point, are I think we've seen a few reports of maybe some marble-sized hail at this point, but not seeing anything really beyond that. So this is going to continue really just right along 22 here, Highway 22. So Corsicana, Powell, Kearns, possibly impacting parts of Mildred, probably going north of Eureka at this point. You're included in that warning, but I think for the most part, this storm probably moves east of, or at least north of Eureka, and then on from there towards Trinidad and Malakoff over in Henderson County. So that will be kind of the track of this storm, but it has been warned here. This is the second warning that we've had in this area. So a report of pea-sized hail in the Barry area, that was a little before as that storm was moving through. So it's weakened, and then we just had, as quickly as it cycled down, this one has cycled back up. So Corsicana moving towards Powell, eventually on towards Kearns there. So continuing eastward, that's the direction this storm is moving at this point. We looked at the winds here just a moment ago with this new breath of life. We'll see if we're getting any kind of more intense winds at this time. I don't see that. Again, where the most intense part of this storm is, you could probably say we're seeing some gustier winds, maybe on the front end of that. But I'm not seeing any particularly strong microbursts. I'm not seeing any particularly strong gust fronts or anything like that at this moment. So nothing of real concern for the moment out of this storm. And I think the storm may struggle to really kind of maintain its intensity. I mean, you can see it just goes back and forth. I mean, you can see this as we watch this. It cycles down, and then that hail core is just kind of pulsing, back and forth and back and forth. But as it moves through Corsicana here, I would say at least quarter-size hail, maybe closer to marble size or half-dollar size hail possible. I would say half-dollar size, probably the biggest we're expecting at this point. But it will roll on to the east towards Powell and towards Kearns. Just another reminder here too, just a big broad view here. Here is where we have the, just checking something in the chat there. So here's the line, really the dry line that we have. So it's really the southern half of the area where we see storms going on, and that is going to pretty much this is pretty much going to be it as far as what we see. So Corsicana, down towards Mejia, down on south of Marlin. That's where our storms are. These continue on to the east. If you're behind this line, nothing more is expected for tonight. This should be really the only line that we deal with. At this point, we are... Jody, so you're getting gusty winds over in Corsicana there. So we'll definitely keep that in mind. But this is the line that we're watching. So if you're north of this line or west of it, at least at this point, really mostly west, you're really probably not looking at anything. I would think at this point that you're done with the storms. We're not expecting anything else for tonight. And hearing that there are gusty winds over in Jody, I assume you're in the Corsicana area. If that's not correct, let me know. But this storm just pressing on eastward, and it's not quite as intense as what we saw, but we're still seeing the severe thunderstorm warning. Still seeing the severe thunderstorm warning that runs until 6 o'clock, so about another half hour. And I mean, you can see some brighter when we're seeing the yellows. That's really where you're going to see the stronger winds. But at this point, we're really not looking at anything too destructive at this point. There you can see the update. So there are some gusty winds in this storm, 50 to 60 miles per hour at this point. I think they're probably low on the severe weather criteria at this point. That's 58 plus miles per hour, so probably around 60. But I'm not seeing anything that has me extremely concerned in this storm. So it's going to continue on eastward right along 22 towards Kearns and then eventually making its way into Henderson County. But behind that, no more storms for really any part of Ellis County at this point. Ellis, Hill, Johnson counties, you're done. It's just Navarro County at this point with one storm. And so far, it hasn't been anything like what we saw Saturday morning. I really don't expect to see that at this point. I think this storm will continue on to the east, and then east of there, once it moves into Henderson County and on into East Texas, could see some stronger storms in that direction. But as far as our particular area is concerned, this is really our only storm at this point. So looks like that will stay north of the Mildred area, probably north of Eureka as well, headed right towards Powell and then towards Kearns along Highway 22. So that's kind of the track of this one, moving due east at this point. So once it gets through, Corsicana, Powell, Kearns, and then moves on to the east, it's outside of our area. Lots of folks in Gun Barrel City tuning in, and that's kind of outside of our area, but I mean, it's probably at this point going to stay well south of Gun Barrel City. I don't expect really to see anything at this point near that area. So it looks like this will slide south of there. We haven't really seen any development north of that. So at this point, there's nothing really headed towards Gun Barrel City at this time. That's headed more towards Trinity, Malakoff, possibly towards Athens later on this evening. So another update, this storm continues on in Corsicana, getting pretty heavy rain at this point. But Corsicana, you will be clearing out fairly soon in this area. It's not going to last much longer, and it will be moving on towards Powell and Kearns there on, am I saying, here, hang on a second. Okay, so I'm getting, okay, so I was getting 22 and 31 mixed up. So 22 is Blooming Grove. That always throws me off because if you look farther back, looks like it goes right across, but they're actually two separate highways. So that's what throws me off. So it's 31. So it's Highway 31 here. Thank you so much for correcting me there. So 22 is west of Corsicana, 31 is east. So got it. I always get the two mixed around because when you look at a map, it's, looks like it just goes right through and it's one or the other. So along 31 here, so moving towards Powell, towards Kearns, this storm particularly at this point looks to be cycling down, but I don't expect it to hang on very long. Looks like it could very well kind of turn back around the other way and can figuratively, not actually turn, but could go back and start intensifying once again. We've seen it cycle up and down. And this is really our only storms we expect tonight. So once these are out of our area, this is it for tonight. We are behind the dry line. once this storm moves through. And yeah, so once these are out of here and done, the storms are done. The good thing is it's an early night, right? We're done. We should be done by, I would say by 6:30 or so, if not before then. This will be out of here. So it's going to move through Powell, move through the Currens area, and then once that is out of here, and this warning goes until 6 o'clock? Yeah. So by 6 o'clock, I mean, this should really be moving out and should be mostly done with our area. So that's the good news here. For one, the good news is these storms have not been very intense at this point up to now. And then as it moves on, again, we're done with the storms by 6 o'clock here. So we're not going into a late night, early morning situation here. The not so great news is that Friday we do have some gusty, dusty winds headed our way. And I've had a lot of fun saying that, but it's not a fun situation because we do have a fire weather watch for at least part of our area that will be in effect from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Friday. Gusty winds expected. We can see winds of 20 to 25 miles per hour, gusting to 30 or 40 miles per hour. And I'm talking not storm related on Friday, but we have dry vegetation out there, especially for those areas that didn't get any rain today. And we're going into what could be kind of an extended period of no rain. So we'll be putting up with that as we go through the next couple of weeks here. Hopefully we get some more storm systems in. Hopefully though, maybe they're not as severe as they otherwise could be. So we'll be fine if we are able to avoid the severe weather for a little bit. I'd be okay with a nice drenching rain over maybe a couple of days here in March. But unfortunately at this point, it looks like the models are telling us we might be going through a little bit of a period of very dry air, and strong winds on Friday will make it very easy for any fire that starts to quickly spread. So avoid burning if you can. The only burn ban I've seen reported to me at this point is Johnson County. That goes into effect here I think on Friday, and then on from there. And then we will have to, we'll have to see. And we're going to have more of those issued across our area. But at this point, only one burn ban has been reported there. I know that burn bans, sometimes these county courts are really iffy on whether they want to issue those, because a lot of these folks in the county, they see the necessity for those controlled burns, those little bonfires and things. So folks have to keep that in mind. Just getting a couple of updates here. So if you're behind this line, you're done for the night. I'm told that the watch will be adjusted very soon to take out western portions of it. So that should at least remove most of us. So it looks like Ellis and Hill counties, as well as McLennan County, will be removed very soon. That will leave Navarro County, but really only the eastern half of Navarro County at this point has any kind of threat. And this particular storm, there's an update, so it continues to move on into Powell along 31. I was calling this 22 for the longest time, but it is Highway 31 here. So continuing to move on through Navarro County on to Currens, and there goes the warning. So they have canceled that here about 15 minutes early here. So this particular storm not really showing a severe threat at this time. That will continue to move through. I can't rule out some gusty winds, maybe some pea-sized hail, but this one dime-sized hail possible. But this one does not currently hold any kind of severe threat at this time. So the National Weather Service getting ready to, yes, so they have canceled Dallas, Ellis, and Hill and McLennan counties from, at least in our peripheral area, from that watch. The watch continues for Navarro County, but I'm thinking they're probably going to release Navarro County fairly soon from that watch, as this is the last storm in our area. We'll zoom this out a little bit, and everything beyond our area is south of us. So from near Wortham and Fairfield on towards Groesbeck, there's a severe thunderstorm warning there. And then this particular storm, it's a heavy one. It's a strong storm, but it's not severe. And you can see the rest of our area is kind of outside of the severe weather threat at this point. And I'm kind of doubtful that we'll see this storm continue to intensify. The National Weather Service definitely doesn't think so at this point. Looks like they are counting on this one to continue to weaken here. They've canceled the warning, and then this storm will continued to move on. So Katie Best, they are continuing the watch for Henderson County. So it continues for Henderson County on east, continues for Navarro County, but they've canceled the watch for the western portions of that area, because if you're behind the storm, you're done for the night. So that storm will move through, it's moving through Powell now, will move through Kearns, and then that will be out of here, move into Trinidad and Malakoff, maybe towards Athens later on tonight. Can't say whether this storm will be severe again or not. Sometimes it's been cycling up and down, so hard to say exactly what's in the cards for this one in the future. But I will say that this particular storm, at least for now, does not appear to have any kind of severe weather threat with it. And I think that we'll probably get that one out of the rest of our area onto the east without incident here. So some gusty winds, some small hail possible as this storm continues on. Really kind of a weird face there. kind of a Wilson from Castaway looking face there. That's funny. So that'll continue on to the east, and hey, look at that. It's not severe anymore, so it's smiling, right? So that will continue to move on along 31, moving into Kearns here. Again, I can't rule out some gusty winds, some small hail, but I don't think that we have a severe weather threat to worry about with this particular storm. I'm going to wrap up live coverage. Need to go make sure dinner is on the way for the family. Stay tuned to South Metro Weather. We'll continue to bring updates as this storm moves out, and then later in the week, gusty, dusty winds and an elevated fire risk for Friday.